Next, let's do practice with deleting a record. So let's make sure that our full record here is selected for visit ID 1688. If you want to make sure, if you weren't for sure, which we can tell the whole row is highlighted, you can just select this area right here, just click in there, and that will select the whole row. Once we do that, we want to go up here in our Home tab, which is still active. Once you are up there, we want to click the Delete button that's here in our Records group. So once you find that, go ahead and click that, and you will see that Microsoft Access is going to give us a dialog box to give us a warning about this. Now you can tell that Microsoft's trying to prevent us from doing this deletion because the dialog box opens and indicates that you cannot delete this record because the billing table contains records that are related to the visit ID 1688. Now if you remember in the previous tutorial, we defined a one-to-one mini relationship between the visit and the billing tables, and we enforced referential integrity. So when you try to delete a record in the primary table, Access is going to prevent this deletion if there are any type of matching records that exist in a related table, which in this case is the billing table. This protection helps us to maintain the integrity of the data in our Access database. To delete the record in the visit table, you must first go and delete the related record in the billing table. So go ahead and click OK here in your dialog box. Now notice that the plus sign appears at the beginning of each record here in our visit table. This plus sign indicates that the visit table is the primary table related to another case, or to another table, which in our case is the billing table. So scroll the datasheet down until you see the rest of the records in the table so that you have room to view the related records for the visit record. So we'll just scroll down a little here, or a lot. That should give us enough room. And we will expand that. And there you can see our expanded view. And what we're seeing here is Access is displaying the one related record from the billing table for this visit. Now what we call this area here when we expand this is the sub data sheet. So this sub data sheet with the related records from the billing table is showing us that record that's causing us not to be able to delete that when we tried to just a minute ago. Now when the data sheet or the sub data sheet is open, you can navigate and update it just as you can using the table data sheet. Well, we need to delete the record in the billing table that's related to the visit ID 1688 before we can delete this visit record. So we need to click the row selector for this invoice 36087. So we'll click right there. The entire row, as you can see, is now selected. Now in the records group on the Home tab, go up here and click the delete button, and Access, of course, is going to open a dialog box asking to confirm the deletion of this one record. Now because the deletion of the record is permanent and cannot be undone, Access is going to prompt you to make sure you want to delete the record. Well, of course we do, or we wouldn't have selected it, so we're going to click yes this time to confirm the deletion and then close that dialog box. The record is now removed from the billing table and the sub data sheet is now empty. As you can see, there is no record that exists there. So right click the row selector for the record for visit ID 1688 now. Once you have that selected, I want you to go up here and you will notice that when you right click, you have the ability to delete records. So go ahead and click the delete record for that record and then click the yes button and the record is gone. So great job on deleting a record. Go ahead and close your visit table now. Now let's switch to working with the query window. So go ahead and close this navigation pane. We're going to go ahead and go up to the ribbon. Once you click on the Create tab here, and here Access is going to display all different kinds of options for creating different database objects. You should have a little familiarity with this when we worked in the first and second tutorials. Now go to your Queries group, and once you're there, click the Query Design button. Once you click that, the Show Table dialog box opens up on the query window in our design view. You see we have different tabs for sources of where we want to get data from. And in the Tables tab selected, you get a list of various tables that are, or of all the tables that are listed in your Access database. Now the query we're going to be creating will retrieve data from the patients table, so you need to add this table to the query window. So go ahead and click the patient table here in the tables list. Go down here to the bottom and click the Add button. And you see that that is now available in our design view here. So let's go ahead and click the Close button. So Access has placed the patients table field here in our query window and closes the Show Table dialog box. Let's go ahead, and since we cannot see all of the available fields in our patient table, come to the bottom until we get that double arrow, and then we're going to bring that down a little bit so we can view all of our records. Those are all the available fields we have to select from now. So from our patients field list, let's go ahead and double click patient ID, and that will place the field in the design grid down here, and that is the first column field box. So when we're looking down here in our grid, or our design grid, it's pretty common sense to just read the labels to know what you're working with. As you can see from here, we are working in our patient table, and we are working with the patient ID field. We don't have any built-in criteria yet, but we do want that field to be shown in our query. Now if we did not want to have this field listed in our query results, we could simply uncheck the box. But for our query, we want to go ahead and leave that there. So you can select fields to be part of the query, but hide them from being shown in your query results. So while we're down here in our grid design, we want to click the right side of the second column, the field box. So we want to right click there. From there, it'll display a menu listing all the fields in our patient table. So if we go ahead and click that there are all the fields. And for this one, we want to go ahead and select last name. Alright, so now we have last name selected, and it's been added as the second column here in our design grid. Now use whichever method you prefer, but let's go ahead and add first name, city, and email fields to our design grid. Make sure you add them in that order. So go ahead and add first name, and we want to add a city, and we want to add email. Now you should have all of these fields showing up in your design grid. Now if you selected one by accident, let's say we added address, we didn't really want that, we could simply put our mouse over it, click and select it. Then we could go up and we could simply just delete that and get rid of it. We could click here, delete, it's gone. Whatever the case may be, you have the ability to modify whatever is needed. And you can always do the redo and undo buttons to make the necessary changes. Now let's go up here and we're going to run the results of our query. So in our design tab, you see the results group here, and we have the run button, which is going to execute this query. It's going to perform the actions that we have created, and we are going to then see our results displayed. Let's go ahead and click the run button. We do not want to delete 51 rows. If you still had the delete active there, Just click the select button and that should take care of the error and put it back to the way that your design grid should have looked like. So we'll go ahead and hit the run button now. And there we see the results of our query and that we should have all 51 records being displayed with the fields that we selected for our query. Well, as you know, this query has not been saved to our database, so until we save it to our database, it cannot be actually part of our database. So while we're working in this query, let's go ahead and make sure we save that. And on the quick access toolbar up here, click the save button. Microsoft Access is going to ask you, well, what do you want to name this query? Do you want to leave it as query 1? Well, of course we don't. We want to call this one patient email. Go ahead and type that in now. Hit OK or press the enter button. You'll see that the name has been changed on your active tab. And here in our queries group, we now have a query that's been added called patient email as we expected.